Summary for National Finance Unit 1 Real Estate Financing. A promissory note or pledge is a negotiable instrument that promises to repay a set debt. A debenture is a long-term note that is not secured by a specific property. The buyer of the property retains the right to use the property exclusively, while it is subject to a mortgage or deed of trust. Either a mortgage or deed create the collateral for a loan by promising the property in case of default by the borrower. In a mortgage, the mortgagor is the borrower. The mortgagee is the lender. In a deed of trust, the trustor is the borrower. The beneficiary is the lender. And the trustee is anyone designated by the lender. Under a deed of trust, the beneficiary, who is the lender, holds the promise to repay the promissory note from the borrower. The trustee holds the security, which is the deed of trust, for the debt. In a mortgage or deed of trust, the borrower has duties they are required to perform. They must pay the debt in accordance with the terms of the note, pay all real estate taxes on the property given as security, maintain adequate insurance and maintain the property in good repair at all times, and finally, obtain lender authorization prior to making any major alterations to the property. Mortgages and deeds of instrument of trust have some standardized clauses you should be familiar with. The acceleration clause states if a borrower defaults on the loan, the lender can call the entire balance due and payable immediately. Escalation clause allows the interest rate to adjust over the life of the loan. In an alienation clause, the beneficiary declares the entire balance of the loan is due and payable when the property is transferred. A satisfaction piece puts on public record that the loan was paid and that the lender no longer has a lien on your property. The prepayment penalty clause allows a lender to charge extra interest if the loan is paid off before the normal completion date, and a subordination clause is used when a subsequent mortgage or deed of trust takes priority over the mortgage or deed containing the clause. Subrogation, not to be confused with subordination, is the substitution of a third person in place of a creditor to whose rights the third person succeeds in relation to the debt. An assumption is when the buyer takes over the original payment, the original loan, and the original interest rate of the seller's existing loan. If a mortgage or deed of trust is taken over with a subject to clause, the original lender is responsible if the new buyer does not pay the debt. If the new buyer fails to pay and the original buyer fails to pay, the new buyer will lose the property. If a mortgage or deed of trust is taken over with an assumed clause, the purchaser is accepting the debt and is personally liable for the entire debt. A bank may require the original seller to remain as a secondarily liable, meaning they would assume the debt if the buyer doesn't pay. Some banks will allow a third party or novation to be assigned rather than having the seller be secondary liable. As a result of a lender requiring tax or insurance escrows, a budget mortgage or deed of trust occurs. By placing money in the escrow account, the lender is assured that the bills will be paid. A monthly loan payment consists of principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. A mortgage or deed of trust, if recorded, must be recorded in the city, county, or municipality where the property is located. Junior mortgages are second mortgages or deeds of trust. The priority of junior liens is determined by the date and time of recording.